This dot is Pluto. For 76 years, that's all it was. A dot, a smudge, a number in an astronomer's notebook. And then, on July 14th, 2015, after traveling 4,600,000,000 miles over 9.5 years, a spacecraft the size of a grand piano finally arrived, and what it saw broke the internet. This is Pluto. Picture this. It's 1930. A 23-year-old farm boy from Kansas named Clyde Tombaugh is sitting alone in an observatory, night after night, doing one of the most mind-numbing jobs in science. He's comparing photographs of the night sky. 2 images, taken nights apart. He blinks between them, looking for any single point of light that moved, just slightly, against a background of 300,000 stars, for 10 months. Every night. Alone. And then, on February 18th, 1930, something moved. One tiny dot shifting just slightly between 2 plates taken 6 days apart. Clyde Tombaugh had found Planet X, the mysterious 9th planet that astronomers had been hunting for decades. They named it Pluto, after the Roman god of the underworld. A fitting name, some would say, for something so cold, so dark, so impossibly far away. And here's something remarkable that most people never mention. The first 2 letters of Pluto are the initials of Percival Lowell, the wealthy astronomer who first predicted its existence and who died 14 years before it was actually found. Clyde Tombaugh, the man who found it, he died in 1997. He never lived to see us reach Pluto. But here's the twist. He's on the New Horizons spacecraft right now. A small portion of his ashes, sealed in a container, attached to the probe, sailing past the edge of the solar system at 36,000 miles per hour. Some people get to rest in peace. Clyde Tombaugh gets to rest in space. So, what exactly is Pluto? Let's start with where it lives. Pluto orbits the Sun from way out in a region called the Kuiper belt. Think of it like a vast, frozen junkyard beyond Neptune, filled with icy rocks, ancient debris, and the leftover building material from when the solar system first formed 4.6 billion years ago. Pluto is out there, deep in the dark. The average distance between Pluto and the Sun, about 40 times the distance from Earth to the Sun. When sunlight leaves the Sun and reaches Earth, it takes 8 minutes. When it reaches Pluto, it takes over 5 hours. And here's a number that'll make you feel small. Pluto is smaller than the continental United States. Its diameter, about 1,473 miles. That's roughly the distance from New York City to Denver. Its gravity is so weak that if you weighed 100 pounds on Earth, you'd weigh just 6.3 pounds on Pluto. You could jump 20 feet into the air, but don't pack your bags yet. The surface temperature averages around -375 degrees Fahrenheit. Your blood would boil, then freeze, simultaneously. It's the kind of cold that makes Antarctica feel tropical. Pluto has 5 known moons. The largest, Charon, is so big relative to Pluto that scientists don't even call them a planet and moon. They call them a double dwarf planet system. They orbit each other like two dancers locked face to face, spinning together through the void. On January 19th, 2006, something remarkable launched from Cape Canaveral. A spacecraft called New Horizons, built by NASA, the size of a grand piano, weighing roughly 1,000 pounds, and it was fast, insanely fast. New Horizons left Earth faster than any spacecraft in history, clocking in at 36,000 miles per hour. If you drove a car at highway speed, it would take you 6,000 years to reach Pluto. New Horizons would do it in 9.5. For 9.5 years, New Horizons traveled in almost complete silence. Engineers would send it commands and wait. Because at that distance, even radio signals traveling at the speed of light take 4.5 hours to arrive. You send a message. You wait 4.5 hours for it to reach the probe. Then another 4.5 hours to receive a reply. 9 hours for a single exchange. Imagine texting someone and waiting 9 hours for every reply. On July 14th, 2015, at 7:49 a.m. Eastern Time, New Horizons made its closest approach to Pluto, passing just 7,800 miles above the surface. But here's the thing that makes your stomach drop. During that flyby, the most critical 30 minutes of a decade-long mission, mission controllers had no contact with the spacecraft whatsoever, because New Horizons was too busy doing science. It had been programmed in advance. It couldn't look at Pluto and talk to Earth at the same time. So the entire flyby happened in silence. The team at Johns Hopkins waited and waited for 13 agonizing hours. Then at 8:52 p.m. a signal arrived. New Horizons had survived. What they found was not the dead, geologically ancient rock everyone expected. Pluto is alive. The first image that returned showed something that stopped every scientist in the room cold. A heart. Not metaphorically. A literal heart-shaped region, nearly the size of Texas, gleaming white-pink against the reddish-brown surface. Scientists named it Tombaugh Raggio, after Clyde. It felt like Pluto was saying hello. But what's in that heart is even more astonishing. The western lobe, now called Sputnik Planitia, is a vast plain of frozen nitrogen ice, as smooth as a billiard ball. Not a single crater, which means it's young, geologically, cosmically young, perhaps only 10 million years old, on a 4.5 billion year old world. Something is resurfacing Pluto. Giant convection cells in the nitrogen ice, like a slow-motion lava lamp, rise up, spread out, cool, and sink back down, constantly recycling the surface. Pluto is not dead. Pluto is breathing. And then came the mountains, towering ranges of water ice, peaks rising up to 11,000 feet high, nearly the size of the Rockies, standing at the edge of Sputnik Planitia. Water ice. On a world where water is rock hard, frozen solid like granite. These mountains aren't made from rock. They're built from water ice. And nobody predicted them. Nobody. Then there's Charon, Pluto's giant companion. Scientists expected a boring, battered rock. Instead, They found a massive canyon system stretching 1,100 miles across the surface, 4 times the length of the Grand Canyon, and 5 times as deep. They found a mysterious dark red stain on Charon's North Pole, a region now nicknamed Mordor. Scientists believe it's formed from gases escaping Pluto's atmosphere, drifting across space and freezing onto Charon. Pluto is literally painting its own moon. And the atmosphere, this tiny frozen world, smaller than our moon, has a thin, hazy atmosphere of nitrogen and methane. Layers of blue haze drifting at sunrise, glowing in the backlit images sent back by New Horizons. When scientists saw those images, one of them described it simply: "It looks like Earth." Now, let's talk about the thing that made everyone angry: the demotion. In August 2006, just 7 months after New Horizons launched, while the spacecraft was still years from Pluto, the International Astronomical Union held a vote. 424 astronomers out of a membership of nearly 10,000 voted on a new definition of planet. And under their new rules, a planet must do 3 things: orbit the sun, have enough gravity to become roughly spherical, and, crucially, clear the neighborhood around its orbit. That last part, that's what got Pluto. Because Pluto shares its orbital neighborhood with hundreds of other Kuiper belt objects. It hasn't gravitationally dominated its zone, and so, officially, it was reclassified as a dwarf planet. The public reaction was not calm. Elementary school children sent letters to NASA in protest. State legislatures, actual legislatures, passed resolutions declaring Pluto a planet within their borders. The state of Illinois, where Clyde Tombaugh was born, formally recognized Pluto as a planet on March 13, 2009. The debate has never fully died. Many scientists, including members of the New Horizons team, still argue the definition is flawed, that by this standard, Earth itself wouldn't qualify as a planet if it were placed in Pluto's orbit. But here's the thing. Call it whatever you want. A dwarf planet, a Kuiper belt object, a dirty snowball. Pluto doesn't care what we call it. Pluto matters because it's a window into the early solar system, a frozen relic from 4.6 billion years ago, sitting in deep freeze at the edge of everything we know. Studying Pluto tells us how planets form. It tells us about the building blocks of worlds. It tells us that even the most distant, cold, forgotten corners of our solar system can be geologically alive, can have mountains and weather and hazes and moons with canyons. If a tiny icy world 4.6 billion miles from the sun can be this complex, this dynamic, this beautiful, what does that say about the universe beyond? What does that say about what else is out there, waiting? We sent a small machine across 9.5 years of emptiness just to say hello, and Pluto answered with a heart. Right now, as you watch this, New Horizons is still out there, still flying, still transmitting. It will take another 30 years for its power supply to die. After that, it will drift, silent in the dark, carrying Clyde Tombaugh's ashes past the stars. The greatest road trip in human history, with no destination and no end.